Welcome back to Bite Size Magic. My name is Zach, and today we're diving back into the series with Kellen Quinn, aka Hebrew Hercules, to talk about how to become a top-level player in cEDH. Kellen is one of the best Dargo Timna pilots in the world, and on top of his cEDH success, he's also a phenomenal teacher and coach, and so he's the best person that I wanted to talk to about this topic. Today, we're going to dive into the role of mentorship and coaching. We compare it to how athletes all around the world, Olympic level athletes, get coaching and how it improves them in their game, and how we can be students and have a student mindset when we approach topics like this so that we can grow and become the best version of ourselves in Magic. I also want to tell you about some events that I'm going to be going to in the future. I'd love to come and play with you guys, so if you end up going to these, come find me, say hi. I'd love to jam some games during LobbyCon and in the tournament itself. The first of these is going to be in Lompoc, California in just 2 weeks. This is the Cosmic Crown Championship hosted by Rude Dude Gaming. This is going to be an all-inclusive event with food, alcohol, and even marijuana provided if you're over 21. In addition, we're also doing like an after party after the event, which is going to be a LobbyCon. I think they have the venue open I might be all night, so we'll see how late I'm out there jamming. But this is going to be a blast. Can't wait to go to this event, and I highly recommend you sign up just because we wouldn't want anyone getting left out who could potentially go. The second event I'm going to be going to is the week right after this. It's Breach the Bay in Daly City, California. This is hosted by Doot Loot as well as Merlion Gaming. Doot Loot is a sponsor of the channel. They provide phenomenal cards in Japanese and Russian foils. They're the one-stop shop to go if you want to get your deck blinged out in foreign cards. And this event is going to be no different. There's some pretty phenomenal prizing provided by Doot as well as a full food service with your ticket. So you're going to be able to go play Magic, get food, and there's a gold event the next day after. So it's a great opportunity to get points for the top deck circuit as well as the California EDH circuit. The last event I want to talk about is one that is really, really exciting. This is going to be hosted by BFF in association with Lost Level Card Shops up in LA. This is going to be on March 28th and 29th. BFF is run by our very own Wayne Blade of Boris. He's the editor for Bite Size and a huge part of the channel, and he's been doing such an amazing job putting on tournaments recently. We just had a tournament last week that capped out and had a wait list for a gold event, and now we have a platinum coming up in March. So if you're in the area, if you're close to California, even if you're not, this is going to be a banger. That's one that I'm super, super pumped to go to, and I can't wait to play in it and play in all these California events that are coming up. That's it for the intro. Just want to let you guys know about the events we got going on, about this week's video. Hope you guys enjoy it, and make sure to stick around until the end of the video to learn about how you can win this week's giveaway. All right, let's jump in. Welcome back to Bite Size Magic. I'm Zach, and today I'm chatting with Jared and Kellen about how to get better at cEDH, how to learn better, how to play better, all those kinds of things. Thank you guys for joining me, and feel free to say hi and introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, I'm Kellen, also goes by Hebrew Hercules on my top deck. I'm known for playing Timna Dargo and doing that for a while. But yeah. Oh yeah, soon to be Tyam. Yes.
Tyam, incoming. Hell yeah.
Hi, I'm Jared, also JB Gartner on Discord. I just like playing cEDH, and I like a mathematical approach to the game and deck construction. So it's pretty simple, I guess, for me.
Cool. Well, this is going to be a part 3 of a series that will never end. And it is today our big focuses are really going to be going over the role of mentorship / coaching is how we talk about it. The student mindset, how you can operate as a student when you look for someone else to kind of help mentor you or coach you in the game. And then if we have time, go into some stories about how coaching and mentoring has helped us, and just ways that you can get the most bang for your buck or the most help when you go into these sort of scenarios or situations, and how to really position yourself for the highest leverage opportunities. So today, let's start off by talking about when you should look for mentorship or coaching. What is the indicator for people that they need to seek out someone who might be either more enfranchised, have more knowledge, be aware of what they're doing a little bit more than you are? What are the things you guys have looked to, or that you think maybe people who are interested in this kind of thing might want to look to, or even if they're not interested, what are the key indicators that you might want to seek some help or guidance?
I'm going to start by saying I would say on the level of mentorship in general is when do you figure out you want one? The answer is immediately, at all times. If you're not constantly trying to seek someone that's better than you or can help you learn from something, if you're not actively seeking that at all times, okay, well then you're just wasting a resource. in my opinion.
Mhm.
So like generally, I think that like if you're trying to get serious at all about playing CDH, and like if you're just trying to go to tournaments and have fun doing that, and you don't care about results at all, then this is kind of a null and void point. But if you're at all looking at results and being like, I care about my results, then that's your answer. That's the moment where you try to get mentorship immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I said this in an earlier episode, but you got to be hungry, humble, and teachable. So, like, if you're not humble and you're not teachable, then you're going to really be stunning your growth, I think. Even if you're a good player, you always want to be looking for the new tech and be learning from people and humbling yourself in that way. A lot of the poker pros that are like old school poker pros, just as an example, if they're still a current active player, a lot of them, they are learning from the new young guys. A lot of, even though they're like really, like you're saying, Zach, and franchise players who've been in the game for a long time, like they still have the teachability and the humility to learn from people, even if they're like younger players. They just have a fresh idea and a fresh mindset and approach to the game, and I think there's always a value in learning from people regardless of how good you think you are. I think if at any point you think you're too good to learn from somebody, I think that's a massive trap that's gonna really stunt your growth.
I mean, like let's look at like okay, so Zach, you wrestled in high school at a very high level,
Yeah.
right? And then you get guys that
Mhm.
go to like Penn State, right? And like undoubted like world champion dudes, and they're still improving and getting better. Like world
Yep.
champion athletes still get
Mhm.
coaching. Olympic athletes
Mhm.
still get coaching. So it's not like, oh, I'm too good for coaching. At no level of anyone being serious about their competing has ever said, I'm too good to be coached. At least if they're any good,
Yep.
right? Like Kobe still took coaching,
Mhm.
and Kobe was the man. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can't sit there and be like, I'm good. I learned it all. Like, I guarantee you have not.
Mhm.
Like the fact that you're saying that
Yep.
tells me you don't know enough to know that.
Yeah. I think I totally agree with you. Every professional athlete, Olympians, has coaches. We look at college football. The people that are like the biggest in the space are actually the coaches, you know? Like the Nick Sabans of the world are the ones who come out and are like, this is the guy. This is the one who's teaching these people and bringing them from, a level in high school or college where they're really good and developing them into NFL level players. And this is true across every sport, across every domain. Coaches are there to provide you the insight that you're not seeing. They're the ones who can point out your blind spots, and also they're the ones who have maybe just a bit more experience in specific areas that you're not as competent in. This is also true in the world of therapy. Like my mom's a therapist, and she has her own therapist, because she can't see everything for herself. You need someone to be a mirror reflecting on you and being able to show you what you're missing, or how to think about something in a different kind of point of view.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually something that when I got into coaching wrestling that really shocked me was that like seeing things from an outside perspective and watching a match, not like watching my own videos, but like watching other people matches and like analyzing them was like, wow, I see so much more now than I ever did when I'm like on the actual mat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the best parts of coaching for me, and I started it in a specific where it was like I'll play a game with someone and then I'll kind of tell them what I thought about the game and have like a conversation. But then we did a game where I was just watching and taking notes and kind of reacting, and it was so useful to see from this outside point of view.
Yeah.
Like if you ever watch a game of CEDH, you're like, I could be in there. Like I know exactly what I would do in this situation. Or you watch MMA and you're like, I would beat the fuck out of this guy if I was in the ring.
And then you're like, oh no, he probably would. He probably would. It's fine.
No, I would die. But yeah, getting this outside perspective is huge. And then kind of the third thing that we wanted to touch on is when you're losing games and you don't know why you're losing. This is huge, where you're like, if you're always like, well, it was turbo, like I just lost the turbo deck, or I just had bad beats, right? Which does happen. cEDH is full of variance, but you have such a huge locus of control in this game. If you're losing to turbo decks, you have to mulligan differently. If you're losing in mid-range, you have to play the stack differently. If you're losing because someone out-politicked you, it's because you're not politicking as well as they are. And there's always, in my mind, like the most coachable people are those who say, what could I have done differently in this game? And what made me lose this game? And if you don't know, that's a great time to kind of approach coaching or mentorship and ask someone who can watch your games or watch how you play or think about the game and help you identify what is making you
I think
lose.
that's so important to have the peace of mind to know whether or not your beats are from variance or if they're from a blind spot. And so that's been a huge thing in my journey, where the people that I look up to, the players that I've played with that are really good players, they point out so many blind spots. That's why I love debriefing games afterwards. So I can know if I'm losing just because of a bad beat and I did all I could, or if it was, there was a blind spot there that I missed. And I think there's the role of coaching for every player should be to give them peace of mind at the end of the day. That's the ultimate goal. So you know what you need to work on, why you are you're in the position that you're in, and how you can move forward and improve.
I mean, it also comes down to like your HHG, right? Like, if you're not humble enough, if you literally go into every game like, man, I could have won that if I just had another turn, or if I just won blah blah blah, and like that's every time you have a game, that's what you say. It's like, okay, so like you actually don't think you ever do anything wrong, then? Like, okay, sure, and then. But like you said, there are going to be games where like literally you sit there and you're like, I didn't even see a turn 2, like nothing I can do. Okay, there are games like that, of course, but there's so much variance, like you said in cEDH, where it's like, if you're saying that about 80% of your games, like I don't think someone has that almost every single time. Like you have to really analyze where you could have been optimized and it's like you said, even starting with mulligans, which in my opinion is arguably the hardest part of the game. Like to me, because it's so much of a guessing game and like a prediction level of like what you're trying to do, and I think mulligans are easily the hardest thing to do.
I could see that for sure.
I totally agree. I think if I were to say like you can take away one thing from this episode, it's when you mulligan, it is not the same in a vacuum as it is in real games. And you have to learn, I think, how to be less greedy with mulligans. This is not always true. Like some decks, like a Ral or a Tali, does not care. It's like, oh, I lost to another Ral player.
C'est la vie.
Well, it's okay. Like my deck isn't built to stop them. Yeah. But if you play, even a Sans Blue deck can have options in the mulligan that are going to help them not lose to these turbo decks. Sylvie put this on great display by including cards like Vexing Bauble, by including cards like Hope of Girapur. Like these are cards that protect you and help you, but also stop these faster decks from winning before your turn.
People get shocked with how much like interaction and how much agency you can have in a game with Mardu. It's like, yeah, man, we run removal. Yeah, we run silences. Yeah, and then, like every time someone says he's not going to interact, he's Mardu. Correct. Continue. Like I'll just hold my interaction for when I need it. Like you are so right. You are so correct.
That's so funny. So when we're identifying factors in losing games, I think, and we've talked about this a little bit, but we think that it can broadly be broken down into 4 categories. The first is technical play. Did I sequence correctly? Did I mulligan correctly? Did I approach the stack in the right way? Did I pick my window correctly? Did I execute on pushing the window? Did I force the window? So many decisions in cEDH occur. And I think Brian Koval talked about you win Magic games by making the most correct decisions. And again, all objective, but I forgot the other guy's name, but he was like the best decision in a game of Magic is the one that wins you the game. It's not always a heuristic where it's like flow charting your way through everything. Right. It's always, is it going to win the game, right? So first layer of losing comes down to, did I play this deck the best in the right way? We can jump into this right now, or we can go over the other 3. What do you guys want to do?
3.
Yeah.
Okay. The number 2 point that we think leads to losing games is, did I approach this game politically in the right way? Did I frame myself in a way that other people found approachable and that I could work with? Did I use my interaction multiple times, not just by casting it, but by revealing it to the table and saying, I have this Mindbreak trap, whoever goes first is going to eat it. Or, hey, I have a counter spell. I know you want to push right now. There's a player after us that is obviously going to push, and I want to have it for them too. These scenarios politically lead you to never having to cast your counterspell and just being able to show it to the table. Of course, this does not work all the time, and you shouldn't be letting this work on you all the time, but there's a time and place when this can be incredibly valuable. Number 3 is your deck is not built to do what it's supposed to do. So every deck has an identity and it has a goal. Decks like Blue Farm, for example, have a couple goals. They can go fast. They can play mid-range. They can do long games. And so you have to decide based on pod composition, how you mulligan, etc., what that plan is. And you have to decide before you register your deck list what that plan is. So your deck could lean more into the mid-range, or it could lean more into turbo. This can be in a huge way, like a deck could be very misconstructed and need a lot of changes to help execute its plan more often. Or it could just be little ones, like 10 cards or 5 cards or 1 card that make a huge difference in a deck. So this is the third way that you might be losing games without even knowing it. And then the fourth way that you might be losing is by not approaching games and not keeping a correct mindset when you're playing. This is extremely subtle and also very nuanced. So when you play, this can range from things like having tournament anxiety, going into events and having this need to win, where you're like, I have to win to prove I'm a good player, instead of just having fun and enjoying it. This can have the similar ramifications in game during politics, when you're like, this spell has to resolve and it's just, correct for it to resolve. And if it doesn't resolve, it's going to tilt me, right? And I'm going to bring the negative experience I had in this game into the next game, instead of just being like, that's a game. I'm here with 3 other people. They're going to make decisions I don't always agree with. That's okay. So mindset, again, very nuanced, a lot of parts to that. And it's not something we can go over in complete depth, any of these in complete depth in an episode, but it's a great thing to bring to coaching and to mentorship to work on, especially if you're like, hey, I feel like I'm sequencing everything right, but I can't get people to understand my point of view or mindset or deck construction, etc. So those are the 4 things. Let's kind of jam on these and love to hear what your guys' thoughts are.
So I think that in ranking of easiest to address versus like the hardest to fix, I guess to say, is the easiest is the deck optimization. There's so many brewers out there. There's so many people that know what they're doing in this format. I mean, there's so many people that you could talk to. There's discords and all that. There are so many things you can do to fix this problem. And it's also like when you see someone that does know what they're doing, it's not hard to tell. Right? Like, it took me literally 3 seconds of looking at Jared's list on Tim Dargo to be like, and I need to talk to you. Like, something's different about your deck. Listen, I need to see it. So, like, it's not hard to figure out if you know a deck, what you're, like, again, like you said, a substantial goal, like, when you know what you're doing, that's not hard to figure out. I do think that the hardest thing to deal with is probably between either the political engagement and the mindset, because I think if your mindset isn't good, your political engagement isn't going to be good either way. Doesn't matter, right? But political engagement is so much more nuanced because every pod is different. Everything you talk to is different. Like, everything you approach is different. So, and every situation has its own nuances. So, to me, the political engagement is something that's very hard. And it's also extremely hard to practice, right? A mindset can be worked on by yourself. A deck can be worked on by yourself. And technical play can all be worked on by yourself. Political, not something you can work on by yourself.
Yeah, that's totally true. I also think there's something to be said. Maybe this could be an episode too, but like the idea of competitive psychology. And like knowing when to see a sports psychologist. Like, if you want to have success in a game, sometimes that means seeking some type of professional help in that way. Especially if you like really find enjoyment from the game, but there's something going on either at events or whatnot that you have a lot of distress in situations where you shouldn't be, where you should be having fun. And so I think there's a whole can of worms to be opened and discussed regarding like just competitive psychology in general, and like what is your mindset? Yeah, I think that's huge.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, and after playing cEDH quite a bit, I've realized like I am never going to find my perfect deck. Just like you're never going to find the meal that's never going to make you hungry again. But you can find your play style. And for me, that really does, at the end of the day, most of the time it's mid-range, because I get to be active politically throughout the game. And the politics thing in this game is something that I really do credit to my mom. Like, being a therapist and living with a therapist my whole life, like,
You got it from your
I have
mama.
spent some time yapping. Yeah. And oftentimes in such a, like, strategy-based game, I equate Magic a lot to chess or to, Catan or something like that. Politics is really not a central piece. And we see all these 60 card players who come into this game who, in theory, should be the best at this game. And a lot of times they are, but they do have to learn how to talk. And I do believe like how much you talk in a game, whether you like it or not, is going to influence your win rate extremely significantly. And I believe like it's almost equal to how you, maybe not equal, but very important in terms of how you play.
Well, it's also it's very interesting because I think that on the other three things that you just talked about, at some level, like if you have a graph, right? That like those graphs that you can like fill in different spots of like what you're good at. There's at some level that's if you're that good at technical play, it could overcome like your lack of political engagement, or if you're like or your deck optimization. If you're that good, like it could supersede your need for that. But political engagement to me is actually the one that kind of never can be truly like you can't have 0 on that stat column, right? It's like building a D&D character, right? Like, yeah, dude, I got strength at 20, I got dex at 20. Yeah, dude, you're dumb as shit though. Like your intelligence is 8. Like you can't talk to nobody. Like, yeah, but I can lift heavy objects. Like, okay, great. But like, and that can get you through a lot of things. But like, I think political engagement. To me, political engagement is kind of like the Constitution stat, where like no matter what character you play, no matter what style you play, no matter what, political engagement at high levels will win you games. 100%. Like there's a direct correlation between your ability to interact with the table and your ability to win at a table, right? And I don't mean interact meaning like I put spells on the stack, but like a lot of times when I play, I'm literally facilitating the discussion about what's going on at the table. Dude, you're not putting any spells on the stack. Correct. But I am telling you exactly what's going on at this table. And they're like, yeah, that's fair. Like, those are things that are happening. It's like, it's not even me deflecting. And I think that's what a lot of people think as well, is that political means you're deflecting people away. Not at all, right? It's, in fact, validating how that you are also a problem at the table is part of that political engagement, right? If you constantly are deflecting, that to me is a red flag, right? Like if you're constantly like, no, my thing not a big problem. Like, then why? What are you doing?
Never?
Yeah, you're never a problem. Like, what are we doing here? Right? But like, your political engagement directly affects your win percentage, in my opinion.
Yeah. As an aside here, I do believe that the more turbo your deck is, the more Goldfish Simulator-esque you're playing, the less politics matters. But even on a deck like Rogsai, Rowan, Atali, Rawl, these all still matter. One player I really do want to shout out is Julian, or Sunglasses, on Atali, and I think he's a phenomenal player. But the way he politics on Atali is also very fascinating, and he gets a lot of spells to resolve in ways that you would not normally get to do. Like we had a game where he had a demonic tutor and someone had a counterspell, and he was the whole time he's like happy to offer the draw because he's super ahead in points and a draw is good for him there. And he's like, I'm happy to draw. And the player's like, I don't believe that you're going to draw, And he's like, okay, like that's fine. And so they were going to force of will his demonic tutor that he got off in a Tali flip. And he's like, you can just force of will whatever I tutor next, right? Like, if you don't like it, just force it. And he goes and gets Electro Duplicate, which has flashback.
Oopsies.
And it's like, that's a knowledge of deck. That's a knowledge of how to politic that well. It's not, in a way, like he's being slightly misleading, but he's not lying by any means. Like the player did force of will it, and then he escaped it from the graveyard.
That is totally on that guy with the force of will's fault. Like he doesn't understand how that deck works, and he doesn't understand the tools that deck can have. That's a huge issue. But I think that falls under that technical play, right? Like if you don't know what's going on at the meta, and you don't know what goes on at a table, and you see a deck and you're like, I have no idea what that does. Well, then your chances of winning against that deck drastically diminish.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like the technical play can break it up into like overall Magic fundamentals, meta knowledge, and both of those things are really important. I think, and I've said this I think also too before, but I really think that more cEDH players, just to build Magic fundamentals, should play more 60 card formats. Should actually play like formats where like having good fundamentals is really rewarded. Pauper, I think, is actually a really good example, because in Pauper, because all of your cards are simultaneously really low power on paper but very high power like contextually,
Together.
for example. Or like in the format, like this format, Brainstorm is legal, like that. Like there's powerful cards, like you have Dark Ritual and Lotus Petal still in certain decks, but then why aren't those cards widely played? Well, they're played in some decks, but they're not as ubiquitous as they are in Commander decks, and it's because fundamentally there's a difference in the way these decks operate. And having good fundamentals, understanding what good sequencing look like you were saying, Zach, how to play lands appropriately and when you play lands, how you bait out interaction before going for stuff. All those things you will learn, I think, quicker by playing 60 card. And so that's why it's something that I always recommend to build those fundamentals and improve your technical play as a result.
Anything else? Why don't we go one by one? Is there anything else that, I think that's a great point, Jared, like playing 60 cards great. Kellen, do you have any tips on improving your fundamentals / your technical play?
Yeah, I mean, number one, goldfishing your deck. So you that's the most basic thing you can do, right? Understanding your own deck is extremely important. Number two, I actually want to touch on a point that you actually made about watching other games. If you're not constantly watching games, and again, recognizing good and bad play in games and thinking about what would I do here? What's the situation here? Even in games where everything. So like when you're watching cEDH TV, which like one of my favorite channels to watch because it's a great breakdown.
Me too.
And you can see what's in everyone's hand. And sometimes you might think about, well, I know he has this, so I wouldn't do it. Well, no, you don't know that information in the game, right? And so it actually helps you predict, okay, what are the chances of this happening in a game, and they have X spells or whatever. So watching gameplay, hugely important. And then finally, I'm not a huge fan of meta breakdown or top 10 like decks of the month kind of videos, but I still watch them because it still tells me what's going on in the meta right now, what's happening, and it tells me what I need to research, right? So, like, I'll get these top 10 lists and these top 16 breakdowns. I'm like, okay, people are skewing more towards this, and because they're skewing more towards this, my deck construction needs to be more like this now, as opposed to, man, I thought, 6 months ago, Turbo was the shit, so I'm going to just do that thing. And it's like, bro, that's not the time now. It's not the time. So, like, staying current with what your information is and being willing to change your opinions based on data, I think is, like, your biggest technical play. Just so consuming information and your goldfishing, huge on that.
Totally agree. Yeah. The points I'd add here, one, watching games is great. And if you can, I like to spectate games in the Crit League. I find that they're quite high level most of the time. You can often find players that you really, admire, or people that have built the deck that you play, people who are progenitors of the deck who are playing. And that's a phenomenal piece of it's kind of like someone said, it's like Twitch for cEDH, where you just get to watch games, so that's really cool. Second thing is, when you are doing meta analysis, what I'll do is just for fun every weekend, or usually on like a Monday, I'll pull up EDH top 16 and I'll look at the tournaments that happen that were over 50 players. So any gold events. And I just look at what the top 16 is, because not all of these get breakdowns. And it will really influence how, like, just so you can see what's performing right now. Let's just do a quick glance and just kind of show like what kind of analysis that looks like. So I'm going to share my screen, go to tournaments, go to 60 plus, and you get to see like what's winning right now. By a quick glance, you get an idea of what's winning. Blue farm, blue farm, blue farm, blue farm.
Time.
Kinnan, obviously. We have Tayam popping up, right? Okay. We have Mono Blue Teferi. We have Gitrog Monster. Like, we have Ashling. Yeah, this was a really cool one I saw today.
What the hell?
501.
Whoa,
Look at this. That's the other thing.
Sick.
Look at these records,
What?
Like, this deck is fucking killing.
501 is wild.
Balin the Haymaker's making top 4. Farm, obviously. Rogthras, Gwenum.
Yeah.
Kinnan, Tayam, Rao. There's a super interesting thing that's happening right now where I'm guessing this is more of a stacks-based deck, but we're seeing these mid-range decks and some stacks decks like Tayam popping up. Oswald's another example, mixed with more turbo decks like Rao, Gwenum, Ashling. So just doing that on like a simple tournament, or going to the one where we see this is, I believe, a European event, if I were to guess, just by names and the name of the event. And you can see heavily mid-range. We do have a little bit of turbo here, but for the most part, This is incredibly mid-range. Yeah, I think this is like 3 turbo decks.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, Tivit,
yeah.
Tivit alone. I mean, you have Marnius,
Marnius,
Kinnan.
the whole top 7 is mid-range.
That's crazy.
You know, to a degree. Obviously, a farm can be turbo too. But this is just a really cool way to do some meta analysis, is just checking out the tournaments that have happened in the past weekend. Shout out to this LA event that we just had. Rowan winning the whole thing. Kali also in top 4. Kinnan, Narset, Gwenna making top 16.
I heard that Jacob guy kind of sucks, though.
Lady Octopus. This is... Yeah, he's terrible. he's on a pre-con.
Yeah.
He won a top 4 on a pre-con. But for me, this kind of meta, my local... Oh, shout out Jared. Top 12 place here. Clark Silas. This, to me, feels like a very healthy meta. I see turbo. I see mid-range. I see mono blue control. I get a ton. Albert too, local Jeremy. Anyway, but this to me is something I want to see. I get to see a bunch of different decks be represented, and it's just awesome. So that's just something you can do for some meta analysis. One thing we're going to do an episode on in the future is what we like to call mid-range hell simulator, and we did this after an event in Colorado, and it was Mortal Kombat. And what we did was we simulated mid-range hell. And this is not as prevalent right now because of the turbo meta, but as we just looked at, it's not just a turbo meta. There's a lot of decks winning right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of games going past turn 2 and turn 3. What you do, and what we'll give more information on, is you assume that you're on turn 3 to turn 4. You roll dice to determine what is in play. So you're like, all right, roll a dice. That's how many cards you have in hand. Roll a dice. That's what value engines you have in play based on your deck. Like, oh, you get a Rhystic Study and a Lotho, and you get like a Bowmasters and a Ranger Captain. How many lands you have in play? How many creatures? And you just start the game. You skip all the setup, you skip all the early wins that might have happened, and you get to play this game that is really, really indicative of how a very grindy mid-range game is going to play. And it helps you learn how to play the stack. It helps you learn how to sequence. It lets you learn how to find your windows, how to push windows. And I find it really, really useful. And I do think that people will get some amount of value from kind of seeing how that goes. So those are the big ways.
So like, to me, like, I always disliked when people were like, it's mid-range hell. I play Magic because of the challenge of the puzzle fixing, right? Like, mid-range to me, that's where I want the meta to be. That's where I think it needs to be for me to enjoy it, you know? Like, if I'm just sitting there and it's turn order simulator solitaire, I'll just go play solitaire. That's fine. Like, there's already a game called solitaire. But to me, like... Like the mid-range of like figuring things out and puzzling. Oh my god, like that's why I love Magic. That's why I play CEDH. Like that's why I do it. And that's a really cool concept that you're doing. It sounds extremely taxing, but like I love the fact.
When we did it, it was so like brutal. It was turn 4. I think we did. Was it 4 or 5? It was later in the game. We had Rhystics. Everyone had a Rhystic Study. Like it was the game lasted. What was it, like 5 hours? And we pulled an all-nighter. Or something like that. We had finished the 1-day platinum event, went home, got drinks, got dinner, and then started mid-range hell simulator, and we were up to like 3 or 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. I remember us finishing the game and then me having to pack up and get on the flight to go home. Like I don't even remember getting to bed. And I think it lasted 1 turn cycle. Yeah, it was. It was 1 turn cycle. Everybody got 1 turn. Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That sounds so grueling, but it's like definitely something I would be down with. But
like the best practice you'll ever get. Because I was thinking about this game when I was in my finals in the Invitational. Because that was an example of a game that went to mid-range hell. Like there was value engines in play. We went almost to time. It was a 3-hour game. Like you need to prepare yourself physically and mentally to engage in these games that occur in top 16s. Like we had in LA, we had a 3-hour game that went to time, you know, and Jacob won at time.
Through combat damage.
And so you really, you need to create your endurance for these kinds of things and obviously help your technical play progress alongside it. All right. Political theory. This is, like Kellen was saying, very, very difficult to practice, especially on your own. And in a lot of ways, I think that gaining political strength happens more so outside of Magic than it does in Magic. And I credit a lot of like my political game to, you know, my childhood growing up with my mom, obviously, and having a more keen eye towards like how I'm saying things, the way I'm saying things, more than just the content of the words I'm speaking. So I would love for you guys to give a take on how you've improved your political play or how you might suggest others do so.
I think my approach to learning the political game is just by playing with good players and seeing how they're working out deals. I'm fortunate enough to be in an environment where I'm surrounded by people who are good at the game, and it's drastically improved my political style because, like Zach or whoever I'm with, whether it be any of the guys there, they'll say something I haven't thought of. I'm like, oh, like you can get any spell to resolve if you make the right deals. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
No, like,
Yeah.
but you can. And the thing is, you can if you're reasonable. If you're honest, you can do that. Like, if there's somebody who has a reputation for lying, which I think this is a really bad thing, you can't make deals with them. Like, having somebody resolve their necropotence and say, well, I'll let that necro resolve, but you're only going to fill up, right? You're only going to see 8 cards because you're skipping your draw step, but that's all you're going to do. You're never going to rip a big turn for the rest of the game, right? You can make that deal. If somebody has a reputation for lying, you can't make that deal with them, and you have to counter their necropotence. And now they don't get to use their necropotence. You've lost your counter spell, and the other 2 players are completely free to do whatever the hell they want. So I think that if you have a reputation for lying, just know that that's a potential trade-off, is that you don't get to resolve your spells. And I think there's a way to work out deals. There are some times when a spell should never resolve, and that's kind of some wisdom thing where you got to know when to do that. But when to just say, you know what, any deal we make here, it just cannot resolve. I'm so sorry. Like that ad nauseum, it can't resolve. I don't care if you're going to refill your hand. You have a Smothering Tithe and a Rhystic Study in play. I'm not letting that resolve. Like, you're going to have way too much gas. So I think it's just a matter of playing with good people, watching how people talk to one another and taking notes and trying to find creative ways to get your spells to resolve, I think is the number one way to improve your political game. If you think that a spell is going to get countered, try to find a reason why it might not need to get countered. Maybe you can control, how you use that thing so that you're not just taking over the game, but so that you are not completely set back to the Stone Age as well.
So first lesson political is passing priority to someone else when you think you have an answer. I'm just kidding.
Sandbag.
So tell them nothing, give nothing. No, I think that it's very interesting when you talk in politics of, like, first of all, how you say something can mean more than what you're actually saying. And I remember this from a lesson one time. I was berating a kid in a class, and a teacher came up and approached me afterwards and said, everything you said was absolutely correct in the lesson you were trying to teach, but the way you said it was not the way to deliver that. And I remember that distinctly. I'm like, how you say it can sometimes be more than what you're saying. And if you treat your opponents like they're idiots, and talk to them like they're idiots, and present ideas to them like they're idiots, they're not going to get a lot of your stuff. Or if you come across very, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Arrogant,
or even, like, confrontational, or, like, angry, or upset, and be like, you should just let me do this. Why aren't you just letting me do this? That's not going to get even though you might be right, right? That's not going to get your spell to resolve. Whereas you could say, hey, man, like, let me kind of tell you what's going on in my thought process in this and how I'm thinking about this problem right here. And if this bothers you still and you want to counter it, by all means, do what you got to do. Like, that's fine. But, like, here's what I'm thinking about right now. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in a situation where I've done both of those things, where I did act and be like, man, I cannot believe you guys made that stupid mistake and, like, are trying to do this. And they're like, yeah, maybe. But, like, you're kind of being a dick. And you're like, yeah, fair. Yeah, fair. Well, you lost, so shut up. Like, like, yeah. But, like, and then you think about that, and I've also had a lot of times where I've resolved a spell where it's like, hey, man, I'm just doing this. You tell me what you're most afraid of, and I'll tell you whether or not that's coming or not. And they're like, you're just going to tell me? I'm like, yeah. Like, it's happening either way, right? Like, I'm going to put the spell in the stack. It's what you're scared of. So what's the point of me lying? What do I get out of this? So talking to someone as, an equal, number one, and number two, how you say things is going to help a lot in this political situation. So like, I just didn't want to add on to what Jared said because I agree with everything he said. Is that what you're saying is extremely important, but how you approach it as well is also going to be equally as detrimental or beneficial for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also, Zach, just let me come into your ad now so I don't see what the problem is.
It's fine.
It's gonna be fine.
Well, first of all, I did just do an episode about this politics, theory, all this kind of stuff with Varix, which I thought was a really fun episode to record, and I thought we said some useful things. So
Loki.
if you haven't seen that, maybe. Who
Okay,
knows?
like someone coming from someone that's not Zach, like tuning his horn, like he's absolutely correct. It is extremely insightful. If you have not watched that, please go watch that. Like, it's really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Real quick, I just wanted to shout out the sponsor for today's video. Doot Loot is the best place to get rare Japanese, Russian foils, signed and altered cards. They have a huge growing community with over 2,000 members on Discord that you can join right now. They do monthly giveaways and they even do giveaways on our channel. So make sure to go support Doot. I have a huge collection of Japanese and Russian foils and he's always the first place I go. Secondly, I want to shout out Mana Vault Proxies. They're a US based proxy company and they help make this game more affordable so that you can play based on your skill level and not just the size of your wallet. I would not be playing this game if it weren't for proxies, so I love what Mana Vault is doing. They're even offering 5% off if you use the code SNACK at checkout. Without further ado, keep enjoying the video. The big three, like if I were to just refine everything about politics into just three big things. The first is you're going to get so much more mileage out of being open and honest than you will from holding on to all your information. So what I mean by this is oftentimes I vamp tutor reveal. I'm just like, here's what I'm getting, I don't have to reveal it, but like, there's no reason for me not to. It's not a scary spell, and it often just alleviates a lot of like fear and anxiety of like, oh, he just tutored, like, gotta be wary. The next thing I'll do is be extremely open with deals and cards that I have in my hand. So like in a top 16 game, I had, I think, 3 cards and I was trying to resolve a Smothering Tithe. And the player after me had a Fierce and they were basically about to counter the Tithe. And I was like, hey, here's my hand. I have a Mayhem Devil and a land. We're playing against Ral, the player who was wanting to counter the spell, Tim Nadargo, and Kinnan. And I was like, look, this Tithe is the only agency I have in this game. And it's also the only way that I see that we can deal with these decks that are relatively difficult to interact with. So let me have the Tithe. I won't touch your Ral this entire game. And you don't have to start with that, obviously. But I'm willing to go to any length to get the Tithe to resolve. Because if it doesn't resolve, I have no agency and I can't use it at all. So I may as well give them the best deal possible. And I was like, let me resolve this Tithe. And I was like, any treasures I use for this whole turn cycle, not going to crack for mana. They'll only be used as Mayhem Devil fodder, and you get to decide where those pings go, right? So thinking about kind of creative ways to get your spells to resolve is really important. Being really honest with what you have in your hand. And then the third thing is try to set, and again, all this is stuff we talked about in the episode with Varix, but try and set the mood or the energy of the game when you start playing. I always, if I don't know the people I'm playing with, will introduce myself and say like, hi, I'm Zach, nice to meet you. I love to chat about people's commanders. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, you're playing Sisay. Like, is that a Clam Chowder build or is that a regular build? This also gives you free information because people will be like, oh, it's just traditional Sisay, like got planeswalkers and stuff, or they'll be like, I guess you'll find out. And you're like, all right, so you're playing Nas. Good to know.
That's actually a really good point. Like, no one that actually plays traditional Sisay is going to be like, ooh, you'll find out. Like, bro, come on now.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure. That's actually really good. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just setting the mood of a game and being like, this is going to, because like every game of Magic I play, I want to be a fun, enjoyable, like just a good experience. Like, I want them to have fun. I want me to have fun. For anyone who wins the game, I want to walk away from it feeling like that was a great win. I'm happy for them. Or if I win, I don't want people to say like, oh, I don't want to play with that guy again. Like, that's a bad experience. I want it to be positive one way or the other. So, and again, if this is not you, don't do this. Like, this is just how I do it. I'm just giving an example. But like, I like to try and set the mood for the game and keep it at the level that I want to be at because I want to enjoy these games. So if things get really tense, you can always crack jokes and kind of alleviate some of that tenseness. But just keeping things more lighthearted makes you much more approachable. And again, this is not me like fucking Machiavellian, how am I going to game my opponents into trusting me? This is just like, I like to play Magic this way, and it works out politically pretty well for me. So those are big things. Open information, keeping the game very light, and just being as honest as you can be. Like being like, I'm gonna go 1-for-1 with you on this counterspell war, and we're gonna go back and forth. Like, I'm not just gonna sandbag you, or I think you have more card advantage than I do, so I'm gonna let you handle this one. But I really do try and keep it like as open and honest, and like, I want to build rapport with people. I want them to feel like I'm in the game with them. I'm not an opponent. I'm a sometimes ally, and sometimes I'm going to try and jam. So those are the big things I focus on politically.
Well, it also gives this like this air of like when they know you have this reputation of being honest and kind and like cool with them, and you're gonna get more coming your way. Like the example that comes to my mind is like being the GM of the Eagles and like how he keeps fleecing these teams for like these picks and stuff like ridiculous. I'm like, dude, if I was a GM and that guy calls me, I'm hanging up the phone immediately. Like there are definitely some people that I've played with in Magic where I'm like, the moment you open your mouth for a deal, I'm just gonna tell you no. I'm just gonna tell you no, because I don't trust. A, I don't trust you, and B, you fleece people. Like you straight fleece people, and like if you have that reputation, it's gonna follow you, and it's gonna hurt you eventually.
Yep.
And it's spots that you don't want it to hurt you.
Yeah, big agree. Yeah, the last thing I would say politically, unless you guys have other stuff to add, is like when I make deals, the letter of the deal matters much less to me than the nature of the deal. I do not want someone to feel like I technically didn't break a deal, but that I got them, and I, to my detriment, expect my opponents to play that way with me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say like, oh, like I won't get mad. I try not to, but there's sometimes when, emotions do take over. But I try to say like, hey, you can do whatever you want here. How I understood the deal was this. I think you understood the deal the same way. And if you want to get me here, by all means, go for it. Just know in the future, I won't make any deals with you at all, point blank, because I don't have the ability to trust you based on how I understand things. I don't want to have to write a contract every time I make a deal. I don't want to have to say no final fortunes, no infinite mana, no unbeatable board state. Like that to me makes the game much less fun.
Yeah,
so that's the big thing that I try and prioritize.
That's the classic one, right? Like, I'm not winning on my turn. Okay, here's the silence, here's a final fortune. It wasn't on my turn. Bitch, you know exactly what you meant.
Yeah.
You know exactly what just happened, all right? Yeah. Like, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
These are broad things, and we can't get into the details of everything because it would take a full episode, obviously. But these are really good starting points. And if you want more help with any of them, feel free to reach out to any of us, and I'm sure we would all be happy to go into more depth. Okay, the next thing is something that I think Jared is going to really shine a light on, which is the deck you're playing is not optimized to do what it is supposed to do as often as it needs to be doing that thing. Run with it, Jared.
Yeah, I mean, these are just a really fancy way to say brewing issues. A lot of times I think people's deck construction, because they don't necessarily run it through a calculator or a sim, they don't actually know what their odds are of achieving their desired game state. And that's a really important thing is, Kellen's talked about it before, but knowing what your deck does is really important, and knowing how often your deck is able to do that thing is also important, but people don't do the second part because it usually requires a lot of really intimidating calculations that you have to do. You have to understand, what inputs to have and compare what percentages to what, because a lot of these statistics are very unhelpful to interpret in a vacuum, and so doing a lot of comparative analysis and things like that, comparing things to other things, can give you a little bit more of a clearer idea of what is really happening with your deck. And I think unless you're willing to do that work, you're leaving some EV on the table by default. I think if we play a high variance game, a high variance singleton format, there's no way to be able to win every single game, right? There's going to be game losses due to variance, due to misplays, due to things like that. But I never want a game loss as easily preventable as this one. Like Kellen said, this is the most easy problem to fix. And so if I'm losing due to a brewing issue, to me, that is like, it's number one, it's really enlightening because it's like, okay, the thing I'm doing is not working. That's good news, right? But it can be so hard if your political game is on point. If your technical fundamental knowledge, like all of that is good, and your mindset is great. Like you come into these games fresh and happy, and you love what you do, and you're still losing. And you're like, why am I losing? My draws feel so bad. Like the deck is giving me nothing but either gas or nothing but interaction, and it's happening over and over again, it's probably a brewing issue. If your deck is lacking in a resource that you might need to combat the meta, that's also could be a brewing issue. And so I think brewing is important for understanding your deck's game plan, its likelihood of enacting that game plan, and how that game plan relates to what the meta is. The last thing I'll say before I turn it over to how you guys think about this is when you're looking at EDH top 16, not only is it important to see what decks are doing well, but understanding what play patterns are doing well. And so when you have an understanding of what play patterns are successful, you can say, okay, which of those play patterns best suit me and my play style? And then after selecting a play pattern, being able to run your build through these calculations that are conducive to understanding your likelihood of enacting your desired game plan is the best way to have peace of mind and know for sure that if you're losing, it's because of either variance or any of the other things that we've mentioned today. I think it's important to make sure that you're not losing because the car you're driving isn't built properly. That's like the saddest thing. You put all this work into being such a good politicker. You watch Zach's videos and you learn how to learn how to politic well, and then you spend so much time with your fundamentals, playing with good players, sequencing correctly, giving 60 card a little bit of a try. You do all this work just to lose because your deck's not built correctly for the meta or it's lacking in theory informed decisions. Like that's just so preventable and it's sad to me. I don't know. What do you guys think about all that?
The only mental picture I can think about is like a race car driver, and he's like, my skills are excellent, my crew is excellent, and like my mindset's good. Why aren't I winning? Well, bro, you're driving a moped. Like yeah, like you're not gonna win the game. Sorry, bro. Like you're not gonna win that race. But I always to me, and I always love that when you mentioned that you played chess. To me, Magic and especially CDH is. And the best way I explain it to people that don't play Magic, I'm like, imagine you could play chess, but the pieces on the board are of your choosing. For example, what if I wanted 4 rooks instead of 2, but I have no bishops? What if I had 4 knights and no rooks? Like how? Like imagine how interesting chess would be if like you're so good at a strategy that involves knights that having 2 extra knights made you like this unstoppable player, right? Like that's what cEDH is to me. So like building your deck or your board to your play style is absolutely a something you have to know, but also in the same vein of what Jared said, like, man, I'm really good with my pawns. I'm gonna have all pawns in one king. Probably not gonna do well. Like it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But like by all means, you can try. No one's stopping you from playing that game. But like, you can also have this this ability to go, okay, I want to do X, Y, and Z. How do I do that in the best way possible? And I agree that what Jared said of like, yeah, the problem with the people not understanding the ratios is because you have to do math. And let's be real, no one voluntarily does math. Like, no one does that outside of school. So, like,
Weird.
But, like, it's fun. I think it's fun. Like, I think the data is fun.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, when you're saying, like, I want my deck to be able to get as many cards in my hand quickly with resources and protection. Okay, are you running, how many silences are you running? 2. Okay, it's probably not going to do that then. Like, you're not going to have a lot of protection. How many mass draw effects are you doing? 1. Okay, it doesn't sound like you're actually doing what your deck, like, you're saying you want to do something, but you're not building your deck to do the thing. So let's do that. But there's also that time of, like, how much am I doing too much of one thing? Yeah, I have 10 mass draw effects. Might be a little too much. You know what I mean?
More of them.
Like,
Put more.
yeah,
Put them all in.
Put them all in. Great, perfect.
The singleton format, you need cards to win. Just put more cards in your hand and you'll win.
Yeah,
Overcome variance by brute force
cards.
drawing.
Yes.
Yeah. I love this conversation. I think it is super interesting. It's also what I would say is the biggest, like, I would not consider myself to be the best brewer, and that's because it's not what really draws me to the game. Like, I want to drive the race car. I don't want to build the race car.
That's totally fair. Yeah.
And luckily with cEDH and the resources we're provided, we get EDH top 16. we get to see the lists that are winning, and it's like, well, if someone won on this deck, I could probably win on this deck. And I do like tuning. Like if I'll take a deck that I'm like, all right, the fundamentals are here, like the thought process has gone into how many tutors am I running? How many silences am I running? Blah, 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 blah. And then you get to play the deck and you're like, well, I don't really like this card. Like it just has been kind of mid. Like it's not what I really want to do. But this other card might be super good and really, really useful. Like this whole Mayhem Devil thing. It's like, this card is just a good card, and it maybe is not aiding us in winning the game as quickly, but it stops every fucking deck from winning. And so that's pretty good too. And so I think players who need to or want to fix this, especially people that come from Commander, which is, I would just say, like, you're just throwing shit in a pile and hoping it works, which is great. Like that's how I learned how to play, and the decks were terrible. They didn't do at all what I wanted them to do. But And I also believe like this is an area with very little information. If you were to tell me, oh, just do the math, right? Like just, do the math and figure out, I would not know where to start. Like what math? Like what websites do I use? What tools do I use? And that's where, we're going to do more information about this and have a future video that's going to go deep into how to actually do this. Like how do I actually brew a deck? But if you don't know how to brew a deck, be comfortable looking and choosing other people's lists and trusting that what they have done is going to be really good. Right? Like
it's actually kind of funny.
They've done the work.
It's funny because like in casual Commander, it's almost like taboo to do that, right? Like you say, oh, you just net deck that. Like you're not even that good of a brewer. And like casual, it's like a negative thing. But in cEDH, it's like they figured things out that you didn't. You should probably do that, and you're dumb for not taking that advice. Like it's very. I always. And this could go on a whole other tangent, and I won't do that. But like the casual mindset versus the cEDH mindset of like literally when you're trying to be more competitive, the humility that comes with it of like I am not that good at understanding this deck. Someone else figured this out, so I'm going to do that, and now I'm going to pilot it. Like I'm going to try that car now, and I might be a better driver than that person. It's like before that was like in casual, it's just like ew, that wasn't creative of you at all. Like correct. Like we're not trying to be creative in this. We're trying to be winning and like within my way of doing it.
And I think there's room for creativity, but it's so much more useful to inform your creativity and not just be like, oh, these cards are all great. Like I know what I'm doing. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I should not be trusted to build a deck that's good, especially in casual. Like those are situations where they have no resources to know. At least that I know of. And please, if you do play casual, let me know that I'm wrong. But I imagine there's not a lot of resources to say, here's how you build a good deck, or here's a deck that, you play that someone else brewed that does the thing that you want to do more than you do it. And I think that the reason 60 card pros come into this format and have such great success, like let's just appreciate for the moment that Rog Thras came into being because Sam Black came and played cEDH. Rog Sai was, I believe, for the most part, and I'm sure by other people, but for a large part, brewed by Bryant Cook, one of the best Storm players in Constructed Magic. And then Blue Farm saw an entire personality shift when Brian Koval started playing cEDH. He's like, yeah, this should be Hate Bears. And the deck was Hate Bears for a while, and it was really, really good. So just being, these 60 card players who know all this information, who are like, this is how you build a deck to be good, really is what changes the format in a positive way. Also want to shout out Anthony Fields of Glacial City. His decks are Niv Mizzet and Rowan, Sign of War. Rowan is one of the best constructed decks. Like it knows what it wants to do so deeply. It says, I want to turn 2 Rowan and I want to turn 3 activation with 3 to 4 life loss. And then I need to have some payoff in my hand. And when I was goldfishing that deck, I would say 9 times out of 10, that plan is accomplished very well and very, very synergistically. Same with Timna Dargo. Like I thought Sylvie's interpretation and your guys' brews made the deck feel like turn 3 was an inevitability. It wasn't I hope I get there. It's like, I will win on turn 3.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, So yeah, shout out to all of those people and to you guys for helping to kind of make this deck much more consistent and much more theory-based instead of just vibes-based. And it's definitely what makes people like me who are more focused on piloting able to play the game. I really couldn't care if I brewed a deck and it was unique. I'm like, it's not what I like about this game. But if you are someone who's brewing a deck who says, I want to take a concept, for example, Lotho. Like, I want to make Lotho a CDH commander. You can do it. You absolutely can do it, but do it from a place of informed decision making instead of just putting cards that you like into a deck and hoping.
It's actually kind of funny because a lot of the times when I talk to casual players and they ask like why they don't play CDH, it's like, well, because it's not very like creative and stuff. I'm like, well, hold on.
Yeah.
Like especially one person that's local to me, he's like, I want to play Urbrask, and when I asked people if I should play CDH to Urbrask, they told me I was dumb and I should play Bergie instead, and so I never tried it. And literally 2 days later, someone in Europe top 16 with Urbrask. I'm like, yeah, you could do it, dude. Totally viable. Someone else did it. Now look, is it the best decision? Like most optimal? Probably not. But the answer to that question is, are you playing Blue Farm? No, then you're not doing the most optimal thing. So it doesn't really matter what we're talking about here. So unless it's Blue Farm, so it's like, But people say, well, I want to do this, but I don't know if it can be CDH. Dude, that's the creativity to solve problems versus creativity for creativity's sake, right?
Right.
Like that's the difference between the two.
Yep.
Do you want to? It's a purpose with your creativity.
100%.
We just saw Ashling win a tournament, by the way.
Which is
10
wild.
minutes
That's
ago.
wild.
So,
I've never even seen that deck. I'll have to look.
yeah. I mean, just real quick plug for Ashling. Card draw, mana, and removal in a 4-mana commander.
Yeah, I played in Grixis card
Pretty
for the Rog Thras matchups and the Kinnan matchups and things like that. It's just really good for just that. And,
makes total sense.
Yeah, I think just like we were saying, just using Timidaro as an example, like that was such a group effort. Like everybody in the Discord coming together, and like I think everybody having their own strengths and weaknesses and coming together to solve problems together creatively using their own unique brand of creativity is something we have that I think casual needs more of. Casual is all about you as an individual, which is great, and there's a place for that. You should be able to express your individual loves and things like that. Never lose sight of that. But I also think there's something to be said about the collective, group efforts. Like, yeah, I think that's really important, and one of the reasons I love the game so much too.
Kellen hates casual players.
Well, I mean, I played it for so long. That's how I got into Magic in the beginning.
I did too.
I could say, okay, I was listening to Casting Call CDH and talking about like casual versus CDH their last episode. I remember the moment I actually switched from casual to CDH. Like definitively, the moment was there was a guy who brought a deck. He's like, I've never lost on this deck ever. And my mentality was, how exciting. I get to play against a deck that's never lost before. Proceeded to smoke him with Lord Ringgrace. And he got up and got mad. He's like, you're such a jerk. You just wanted to beat my deck so that you can say that is no longer undefeated. And half of me is like, yeah. Like, that's the point. Like, that was exciting. That's cool. Now we get to build something. But it was met with such negativity that I'm like, I don't think I want to do this anymore with casual players. And like, whereas the CDH mindset is like, bro, you figured something out that's unbeatable. Let's brew. Let's solve this problem. And it's like the group mindset of like celebrating success, even if it's not yourself, is so much better, in my opinion, for growth.
I love that. That's so cool. My moment, by the way, was when I was playing on Spell Table and a guy kept making fun of me for having proxied cards and beating him. And I was like, oh, this format's just not for me.
Oh my god, that's so dumb.
I guess I just can't play it anymore.
Yeah, that's so dumb. That's such a dumb argument.
It's painful. But I agree. Like, think our whole meta, that's what the meta is. Our meta, the whole point of it is we're trying to solve problems. What's good right now? How do I beat what's good? Do I join what's good? Do I optimize what's good? Do I try something else that pivots around the thing that's good right now? And it's all ethereal and it's very social, like it's just an idea of like what we think is good. Like we talk about the turbo meta right now, but it's like, is it a turbo meta? Is it a mid-range meta? Is it a stacks meta? Like, who knows? It really does depend on the tournament. It depends on the players. And it ultimately is up to variance. But I agree that trying to solve problems, like how do we beat Blue Farm, And the answer was, we're going to go faster, right? And then Blue Farm was like, well, how do we beat the fast decks? And it's like, well, we're going to
go faster.
Cut all of our stacks pieces and try and go faster too. And then someone's like, let's play fucking time and see how that goes.
Now no one gets to play. It says it's me. And like, perfect.
Yeah. But I really like that point of view, and I do feel like CDH is just such an awesome community. I have only, for the most part, I have such positive experiences playing this game, and I hope that more casual players would try CDH, or at least bring some of the CDH mindset into what casual is.
I agree.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of mindset, no.
Damn, look at that segue. That's
the
sick.
last reason
Like,
why you're
That's a sick segue.
God damn.
the last reason why you're losing games because you have bad mindset. I've talked about this before too, but yeah, I think for me, and apologies in advance if you played me when I was like this. I think there was a point where I took the game way
He's
too
fixed
serious.
that.
I think so. To be honest with you guys, I think so. I think I I think the way that I approach the game now is way different than I used to, and I used to be like taking things to such a serious degree. I think I was way too serious in that I was like, I have to play this deck. If I don't play this deck over and over again and grind and get better and increase my chances of getting top deck points, if I'm not doing all that stuff, then I'm not a good player. And if I'm not a good player, then that's bad. And I have to be a good player, because why am I spending all this time and effort to not be good at the thing? I want to be good. And it's just so toxic, I think. And then when I switched to just being like, I just want to have fun. I'm going to play what I want to play. I'm not going to let any pressure dictate how I'm going to show up that day, and just bringing myself into it and just trying to make the emphasis on just having fun. Right? Having fun first, just trying to have a good time, and then letting the cards fall as they do. And I think taking that pressure off, seeing games like you've said before, Zach, as an individual game. Every game is just a game with potential friends. Like, that's really how you can just think about it. Like, it's not a game against these sweaty competitors, even if that's, what it is. Like, how you think about the game that you're playing is how you think about it. Like, whenever I sit down nowadays, I'm just like, I'm playing a deck that I think is cool and fun, and I'm playing it with some friends I don't know yet. And just kind of having that wholesome mindset, I think, really helps my gameplay, because it takes the pressure off, number one. So it's a strategic advantage in wanting to have fun. But also, it's like, it makes the tournament feel better. It makes, not all, but definitely some of the losses feel better. Because, like, you can have a game where it's like, I had a great time. I had a wonderful game. And I know we've all been in those games that are like, they feel really good, and when you lose, it's like, I don't even care that I lost. I had a great time. I had a wonderful experience. I had a great game. And like, when you're taking the game too seriously, like I think sometimes every loss feels bad, and every win feels expected, because you're like, I spent so much time, so I expect to win, and then losing hurts even more. Last thing I'll say before I want to hear your guys' thoughts on how your mindset has changed. Or maybe that's never something you struggled with, because we all struggle with different things. When I was playing blackjack, when I was counting cards part-time, you spend all these efforts to, it's long. It's a couple years.
Stay right where you were. Stay right where you were.
FBI watching.
Stay right where you are, Jared.
It's okay. It's not illegal to use your brain. It's fine. It's not illegal. It's not cheating. It's not illegal. It's not cheating. But like, you spend all this time, hundreds of hours, to get perfect at the game, and so when you lose, because you have an advantage over across rounds, you make the money the same way the casino does. You have an edge, and so over time you're guaranteed within a certain margin of error profit over time, which makes it a good investment because you can quantify these things using simulators and all that stuff. But the losses feel worse, because you spent all this time and effort to get good at the game, to get to play a perfect blackjack game. And so when you lose, it sucks. Whereas when you play blackjack casually, it's like you expect to lose. And then when you win, it's just gravy, it's just fun. But then anytime you take something like to that serious degree, the wins feel, okay. I mean, I expect to win. I put a lot of effort into this, kind of hoping I'm going to win. And the losses just feel brutal. You're like, why the am I still losing? Like, why can't I overcome this issue or this thing or this or that and the other? And I think that's kind of where you might want to consider either a mindset shift, maybe seeing like a competitive psychologist or sports psychologist, or be interested in a coach that can kind of help you work through those different mentalities and how you can come in a little bit more fresh and being less of a person that might be insufferable to yourself or insufferable to your opponents. But what do you guys think about that? There been any mindset shifts that you've made over time, and any mental roadblocks that you've struggled with that you've overcome?
No, I'm perfect.
Great. Okay.
No, actually, I have actually very specific examples of this, and not necessarily with Magic, but with other things. But I want to validate immediately that like your idea of prioritizing the wins and how you win and stuff like that, superseding the fun aspect of it, is definitely something that you found to be a problem. I think it's actually healthy to have a mindset of like, I have put a lot of time and effort into this, and I have put a lot of time invested, money invested, all those things. I do want to win, and I do think it's healthy to have that feeling. But when you take that and you don't make that the foundation, and you don't make that the emphasis, then that becomes an issue. But I do think it's healthy to have that, like, yeah, I want that competitiveness. I like it, like, so there's a couple guys that I play with locally, and we get at each other's throats a little bit when things happen in like, again, even like casual games, and like we've talked to each other afterwards, and they're like, dude, I'm sorry for like doing this, and I'd say I'm sorry for doing this, but I tell them, like, if you didn't care about winning the game, I wouldn't want to play with you that much, to be honest with you. Like, I want that competitive edge, and the fact that you're getting that heated over this tells me that you actually want to win games, and that's what I want to practice against. I'm not trying to practice against people who don't care, right? Like, that doesn't help me at all, and I appreciate the fact that you do care, and that means that you're emotionally invested in what we're doing as well, and that actually means more to me than you saying, I don't give a rip about anything. I'm going to ruin this game for no reason. And I've played with those kind of people too, and it was just like,
yeah, I can't stand those folks.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like more power to people that like to play Magic and drink and slash smoke or do whatever they're gonna do, but I can't stand it. Like, I physically cannot stand it, because I just sit there and like, I guess I'll just throw out this spell. It's like,
there's a time and a place for that, right?
Yeah, it's not with me. Okay, it's not with me. That's the time and the place. But like, okay, here's my example of like when I knew I had to walk away from something exactly for your mentality. I love football. I've loved football my entire life, and obviously fantasy football is definitely a thing. And I would spend hours of research and time and following players from college and all these different things. And then I get to the season, like, I have fine-tuned this team to be like exactly what I wanted it to be. And then, hey, that running back blew out his Achilles 5 plays into the season. Your entire team's trash now. Like, like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it. But like, I still love that aspect of like the stats and all that. So I'll still like follow football because I like football. But like, I've removed myself from that temptation of being, I'm too invested in like this random thing that I have zero control over. Right? Like, I have control over my Magic games to some extent. I have zero control over these football games. So it's okay to have that competitive edge. It's okay to have that mentality of like, I do expect to win more games because I do try, and I do my work, and I do my homework, and I do expect that. But when that expectation and that competitiveness supersedes the fact that, dude, I'm doing this because I like it and I have fun.
Yes, that's
then you
the thing.
Lose that. Yeah, and like, yeah, then you lose that, the joy of something. And I've told this to many people, like, hey man, if you're gonna practice the deck or do something, do you like the deck? They're like, I don't know, I guess. Like, well, I wouldn't play that deck then, dude.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna practice it, you're not gonna like it, and you're not gonna enjoy the game. If you're not enjoying the game, then what's the point?
Right.
Right.
And it's also understanding yourself as a person and your tendencies. Like, I have a tendency to take things way too far and way too competitively and way too seriously. So I'm spending 90% of my brain to remember to have fun, because the other rest of it is covered. The rest is automatic, right? If I focus too hard on being competitive, it will supersede the fun. That's how my brain works. Where some people, it's the other way around, you know? They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to have fun no matter what. I'm totally cool with that. So I need to tune my mindset to actually be more serious and to actually do the homework, do the calculations, or if that's what they need, or to do the tournament prep and maybe watching Politickers and getting better at that, or maybe learning some fundamentals and stuff like that. Maybe people need to be more serious, but it's about understanding what is your starting point and what is your mind being taken over and overcome by, and how can you counterbalance that and counteract that in a way that gets you into a healthy, balanced mindset. Yeah. What about you, Zach? I don't think I've ever asked you if you've ever struggled, like, I guess publicly, like, I've never asked you, what do you struggle, like, what do you like, do you struggle with mental at all, or is it just like, no, I'm good on that end and I struggle with other things, because everyone's got their own strengths and weaknesses, like I said. Yeah.
So actually, this is much, not that I didn't think this was going to be interesting, but I think this is actually perhaps the most interesting part of the discussion for me, because a lot of when you guys are talking, I'm just like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Like a lot of the things we're talking about is how I really live my life. Like I want to live, when we've talked about this ad nauseum, Kellen, but like, you know, the journey matters much more than the destination to me. It is the process that I enjoy rather than the outcome of whatever I'm doing it for. So I don't play cEDH to win. I play cEDH because I love to play cEDH. And winning is the goal of the game. So by playing well, you enjoy the benefits of winning. But the focus is the same thing with work. It's like if I am just working to make money, then I'm going to hate the work and I'm not going to do a great job at it. But if I love the work I'm doing, if the goal is hard work, like I just want to work hard and I want to do that as much as I can, I'm going to both be better at it and I'm going to enjoy it way more than the person who is just doing this for something else, a quid pro quo. So the mindset of cEDH for me is, and this, I think I'm lucky in a lot of ways because my brain naturally is working this way, but I want to play the eternal game. I want to play cEDH not to win a single game of cEDH, not to win a tournament, not even to win the invitational, but I want to play so that I can keep playing this game. And that's why I emphasize honesty and honor so much, is because I want to be able to play with the same people over and over and over again and have it be a great experience over and over and over. There was some, I encountered this a little bit after the invitational win where I was like, I almost had this like idea of like, oh, I can't lose anymore. Like if I lose, then I'm not good or I'm washed.
Washed.
And I quickly got over that. Yeah. I quickly was like, that's dumb. Like I should not be winning more than 25% of my games, in theory,
You took
right?
single
And
Thrasios into tournaments. You're like, why aren't I winning everything? I don't understand.
yeah, and I bombed. Didn't make top 16. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. Like I'm accepting that losing is part of this game. And honestly, the best way I've ever learned how to play cEDH is by losing games. It's not by winning games. So the losses end up meaning much more to me than the wins. This weekend, I did terrible. I had 3 draws and a loss. I did not win a single game of Magic. And of course that feels shitty, but the experience itself was such a blast. I had a great time playing. I got to hang out with all my buddies. We got food. We talked about the game. I played for fun games. And, maybe the deck I brought, like Rogthras, was not the right meta pick. And maybe I didn't have enough experience playing the deck. And I wasn't sequencing things as well as I could have. And, maybe if I'd brought another deck, I would have won a game or the tournament. Who knows, right? But I think that for me, I am learning how to adapt that mindset even more. Like the biggest goal for me is just keep playing Magic for the sake of playing Magic, and winning games is going to naturally happen. It's so much more about just enjoying that process, focusing on the process, playing decks that I think are fun, things that might not be good, but are like, oh, see how this goes. And it's really defined how I do play the game. So the biggest mindset I have is journey over destination. And I try and think about that in every game I play, because to me, I'm trying to play the infinite game. I'm not trying to play one game of cEDH or one tournament. So yeah.
So it's actually really funny that you say this. So I'm reading this book called Legacy, right? And I told you guys about this in the DMs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a study done by, I think it was like a Japanese like CEO or something like that. And they asked about what motivates people more to do more work and work harder. And increasingly so, they said, was it better pay? Was it better benefits? And it was like an overwhelming percentage was, I'm doing a job that feeds my soul, rather than you can throw as much money as you want at me. That's not going to motivate me much more after a certain point. And actually, it was funny. They actually did this like graph. This other there's another group did a study about, and it's a logarithmic function of, after a certain amount of money that you make, it just tapers off of like your happiness level. Just it caps at a certain money, right?
Yep.
So no matter how much money more you make after this certain amount, and it wasn't actually that much. It was like under $200,000. After you're making around that much money, you're not that much more motivated or happier with your job, no matter how much more you're making. And it's like the fact that you're feeding your soul, and that's the intrinsic motivation that gets them to do more work, and that's what's motivating people more these days. And it's like, that's so interesting that you say that. Like, yeah, wins is great, but you can only win, so like, if you won every single game of CDH, would you actually?
I wouldn't play.
Yeah, you'd be like, would you ever play again? Like, I've dropped so many video games where it's like, man, I'm just winning. Like yeah,
It's too good.
yeah, just too good. It's not fun anymore. There's no challenge to it.
That was
right?
Paul Morphy
Like,
in chess too.
I-
Yeah.
there you go, right? It's actually funny. There was interviews done about like the latest Diablo game, and it talks about how the problem the reason why the game failed was because every enemy that you faced in the game leveled up with you, so you would never actually felt progress, and you never felt challenge because everything leveled up exactly as high as you, no matter where you were in the game. So it's like, so nothing ever changes. Like the numbers got bigger, but it doesn't actually change, and it's like. That's why the game failed. And it's like, wow. Like, and you're so right. Like, I just want to play the game not just to win. And like, obviously winning's fun. But like, I want to keep playing because I want like more experiences with the people as well. And it's so much more important.
All this is not to say that I am not like one of the most competitive people I know. I really like, I struggle to throw games. And not that you should throw games ever, but like, I can't like turn it off. Like there's not an off button where I'm like, oh, I'm just throwing around spells. So it happens. Like even when I do drink and play Magic, I'm playing at the highest possible level, and I am still trying to win.
It might just be harder to read the cards, but like you're still doing the right cards at the right times, dude.
I'm like, this looks like an ad nauseum to me. That's why I said I'm lucky, is because like I am playing this game because I just love playing it, and part of the reason I love playing it is because it is so highly competitive, and it feels like there's so much agency that you have access to in the game, politically and also technically. And I feel like I'll never get to a point where I've fully mastered it. It's always going to be something where it's like, I can always play someone better. I can always change how I'm playing. I can always learn how to politic a new way. I can always build my deck better. And the mindset is one of continual growth. And it's always saying that if I am not losing enough games, I'm really not growing anymore. I've plateaued, and that means I need to change what I'm doing. I need to play different people. I need to try new decks, and I need to evolve, because at the end of the day, whenever you stop growing, you start dying. And I feel that definitely, like, very deep with cEDH. So
I think that's a great mindset to do. I've talked to people about in the Dargo Discord, like, if you're not looking at the deck every week without at least and at least considering a change of like 2 or 3 cards, you're not really fine tuning, because you're not staying updated, you're not staying current. And I'm not saying you actually have to make the change, but you should consider changes every week at least, in my opinion. And again, this also stems from, like you said, like, you're enjoying what you're doing. If you didn't enjoy it, you certainly would not invest that much time into it. So
yeah, hilariously, we have spent this time on one bullet point.
Yes,
that is true. Do we have any time to say how a good mentor or coach can provide these things? Because like we talked about how, like, why people are losing games. So this is like the why you're losing at cEDH episode. But the point of a coach is actually to help solve these problems, the problem of losing. Do we have any time to talk about what a good mentor or coach would provide in that situation?
Let's do this. I don't think we have time to get in depth, because this one conversation where we talked about basically 4 things was over an hour. So I don't think we're going to do it justice by talking about it right now, but I would love to kind of go over it as a preview for what we're going to talk about next time. Does that sound good to you guys?
Totally, yeah.
Okay. So what does a good mentor / coach provide? Like, how do you take all of this, knowledge essentially, or like understanding, and apply it to someone who might have more access to this information? The big things that we do want to touch on are, number 1, pushing you outside of your comfort zone. So that might look like, for example, I've had a couple of clients now who have been playing Blue Farm, and they're just like, I just feel like I'm not winning on the deck. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just play a deck that only tries to win. Like, let's forget about mid-range. Let's just play Rogsai for a little bit, just so that you can experience what it's like to just jam. Don't worry about trying to interact. Don't worry about the mid-range game. Just go for a central plan, stick with that. And it is uncomfortable to play Rogsai. Like, it's a fun deck, but it's not a comfortable deck to play. And you have a lot of games where you just sit there and do nothing. But it really helps you learn how to win. and it's one of the best decks at winning. So number one, push you outside of your comfort zone. Number two is explaining you the why, not just the what. So this might look like, okay, we are struggling in one of these areas. I could just tell you what I do. I can be like, well, I mulligan this way and I politic this way and I do this and I do that. And you could just have someone talk at you for an hour and you pay them. I find that to be extremely unuseful, and I would not pay someone to do that for me. I want to have someone lead me and guide me and say, okay, here are the big problems we're experiencing, right? Why are they problems? What about them is not conducive to winning the game, and how do we address them, through practice, through tools, through in-game politics, through decision making, etc. And then the last thing, and the one that I find to be really, really useful, is teaching you how to practice and teaching you how to create resources on your own, so that coaching session, it's like, don't just give a man a fish, teach him how to fish and he'll be fed. I don't know the whole quote here,
Close
but
enough.
teaching a man how to fish is that's the biggest thing of this all. Is I want people, for me personally, to come out of coaching sessions knowing how to grow on their own too. Not just saying, oh, I need to keep going to coaching. Like, the goal of a coach, I think, is to coach people out of needing them. I think we've talked about this before, right?
Yeah, and I think that I think that right there is something that I think it's a good point to end on, just like to start for the next video, because immediately right now, if you're looking at someone who's coaching you or mentoring you, and you can't honestly tell yourself, I think this coach is trying to get me to not need them anymore. If you can't say that, you probably need to find a different coach. There's too many times in teaching and coaching that I've done in my life. They want it to be an ego trip for themselves. And they want to say, well, look how much I can do and look how much I know about this. And it's like, that doesn't help that person at all. It doesn't do anything for them. And it's certainly not helping anyone else. Like, you should be coaching and teaching people so that you are no longer needed. That's how you build a legacy. That's how you build a chain and like a better community, not to stroke your own ego. That's not how this works.
Right.
Yes.
A coach should have good analysis. They should have good information, like good way to teach you. So we call that, I guess, pedagogy. That's like the fancy word for it. So they should have good analysis, good pedagogy, and they should have good encouragement. You should have a coach that's encouraging you. That's telling you can if you're not feeling confident, and kind of helping you recognize that, that you can do it. And so I think that I wish there were more coaches that had, regardless of what their expertise is, those three ingredients, and to adjust the amount of those ingredients personal to whoever they're coaching.
Can't confirm. Zach's advice earlier was like, have you thought about just quitting? Have you thought about that?
I don't.
Well, good pedagogy.
I'm going to encourage you to step away from the
don't
game.
Play.
I'm going to encourage you to find another hobby.
Oh my God.
That'll be
so
$50.
Thank you very much. The last thing I'd end on here is, one thing I'm trying to focus on in my coaching sessions that I'm working with is, I want to talk less in that session than the person I'm coaching. And I don't mean that in the sense that like I want them to run it for themselves, but it should not just be me talking at you. It should be me asking questions that you get to help solve and that we can talk about together, And it's like, how would you go about this? What's your idea about this? Or why would you do it this way? And I think good coaches are ones that can take what you say, work with you, and help adjust that point of view. Not change it, not mold it to be their own, not say, oh, that's wrong, this is what you do, let me yap at you for 50 minutes, but really encourage you to help draw conclusions on your own and support you when you ask for the help.
I mean, that's one of the biggest things. So when I was being a teacher coach, and even in my teaching style now, my job is not to tell you what to think. In fact, most of my time in class is about me just guiding and asking guiding questions. And especially when I was a teacher coach, I would just ask prying questions like, and what do you think you should do from there? And what do you think this does for this? How does this solve this? That's generally all I would say. It would not a lot of talking at all. That's when you become a better coach. Is that like when you're not just sitting there feeding them answers and you're leading them to things, having them figure it out themselves. That's when the learning actually happens. It's not when it's just fed answers.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Okay. Well, anything else that we want to touch on before we wrap?
I would say that we kind of broke down the ways of or 4 reasons why you're losing. If this was you in every facet, you're like, I do that too. I do that too. Well, this is just reminding me that I suck. Know that we all at one point were at this level and we all have struggled with this, and it's not the end of the world. And sometimes self-actualization of understanding, yeah, I need to work on some of these things is the first step to improving.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if you just sit there and honestly tell yourself, yeah, I need to change some of this. Like that's okay. Like that's fine. And you're talking about players that are topping in multiple tournaments. You're talking to Zach, who's placed at the highest level of events, and he also struggled with this. So everyone has struggled with this.
We should
so
really
don't be
call
discouraged.
really call the episode "Why We're Losing at CEDH." Because the truth
I'm not
is,
losing. I don't know what you're talking about.
it's not why you're losing, because that's you're the one that loses. We're winners. We're these amazing players. What do you mean? No, this is why we lose. This is why we lose at CDH.
Sick thumbnail. Why you suck.
Wow. Why
4 reasons. I've broken it down for you. Here's an hour video why you suck.
Clickbait.
Yeah?
If any of us are losing, this is why. I think that's such a healthier way to think about it than pretending that this doesn't happen to us. This is why we lose. Mm-hmm. We lose for these 4 reasons and variance, and the goal is to make sure that as much of that is due to variance as possible, but it's never going to be 100%. There's no way.
Yeah.
And I still work on all of these things. I am not as politically savvy as I would like to be. I still think Freedom Waffle is the best political player in the world. I've had no one been able to change my mind on that. I think he is just the best. Technically, I know I'm not, but I'm not even fucking close to the best. I have so much to work on with technical play and getting better at how to do that. Deck construction, I don't even try at that. I just net deck because I know that I'm not going to be good.
I put 0.
Don't even try.
I put 0 stats.
I just quit.
0 stats.
Yeah. And then mindset wise, that's every single day. Every single game is something that you have to think about your mindset. It's not just oh, I got it, I'm good, don't have to worry about this anymore. It's I always have to remind myself. I have games where I'm fuck, I'm so angry I lost. And then I have to be hey, I'm here to play. How I play the game is what matters. It's not about winning or losing. It is, but it's not really about that. That's not the whole point of cEDH. And the biggest thing out of all this that I hope people take away is that when you're evaluating why you lose, always evaluate from a sense of an internal locus of control. Ask yourself what you could have done better in that game to have it lead to a different outcome. Yeah, I think all this is awesome. A super fun conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, man. I always enjoy our conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I always enjoy listening to your podcast and being God, this is the guy you guys need to listen to. Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I do just think we keep this segment forever. For the life of Bite Size, we'll have.
Oh yeah, dude. I thought this was gonna be a 2-episode thing. We are not even halfway through what we planned to do. This is wild amount. Man, I do think though, this is part of these is why I love these is that I do feel I'm sitting around with a beer or whiskey just talking about the more higher mind level thinking part of this game, and I love that stuff. So I'm hoping people are enjoying this as well.
Me too.
Yeah.
For anyone watching, let us know if this made sense or if we were just completely nonsensical and talking with out of our ass. And let us know if you enjoyed it, because that's gonna help us keep making these kinds of videos. This is the kind of video I like to make. This is my favorite kind of thing, is talking about high level theory, strategy, politics, tactics, etc. I think this is the most fun, and the best part of cEDH is really diving into these details. But yeah, let us know. Let us know if you liked it. Let us know if there's anything else you want us to cover. If you're hey, I really need help with X, Y, or Z, that's going to be something that we can talk about and really go over in more detail in these sort of long form discussions. So one thing I'm going to be trying to do more is take people's comments from videos and inject them into videos so that we can really go over them and analyze them. But we'll include that for the next time for sure.
Nice.
Inject them. Yeah. All right, sweet. Well, thank you guys for joining me. Really appreciate the chat, and we'll catch everyone next week on Bite Size.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Huge thanks to Kellen for joining us for this week's video. It's always a blast to chat with him about becoming a top level player, and it's amazing to hear his insight. We love that you guys have been enjoying these videos, and so we're gonna keep them going if you wanna keep watching them. It's just a really fun series to do. Now let's jump into this week's giveaway. If you wanna win this week's giveaway, just like this person did last week, all you have to do is be a bite-sized subscriber and comment something about this video that you found useful. What's something that you're gonna implement into your practice that might help you become a better player? How do you see yourself become a better student? And is mentorship or coaching something you're gonna be interested in? This week's giveaway is sponsored by CamSit. He's a local artist in San Diego, and he makes some amazing token packs as well as altars. This weekend I was playing at a tournament, and I had a guy who I was playing against show me tons of cards in his deck that were altered by Cam. They're just phenomenal, absolutely beautiful. We'll have all his information below. And again, if you want to win this week's giveaway and win one of his token packs, just comment on this week's video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Speaking of mentorship and coaching, I offer it. So if you're interested in getting cEDH coaching, I'd love to work with you. Feel free to reach out to me through DM or by commenting on this video. I won last year's invitational, and so if you're interested in grinding for something like that this year, I'd love to help you get there and expand on what we talk about in these videos and make it a more personalized one-on-one approach. So you can find me at snack5322 on Discord, or just leave a comment on this video and we'll get back to you. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's all we have for this week. We'll catch you on the next one.